Everybody is always asking me, Sonia, what's the best foundation for? And one of the things that I can tell you is that when you are aging, I want you to rethink your foundation game every 5 years. As we age, our skin changes. As the seasons change, our skin changes. And the foundation that worked for us in the summer might not actually work for us in the winter. Since social media has been a thing, we have been told what to buy, but we haven't been taught how to shop. I'm going to teach you how to shop, not what to buy. I have been a makeup artist for 30 plus years. And one thing that I can tell you is that after 40, you don't need more foundation. You need better foundation. And today I'm going to break down how to shop for foundation after 40, some of the secrets that I used to use in my job, and how you can shop for foundation like a badass pro. Are you ready to get into it? Let's go. Let's talk about foundation because I used to teach classes in my Chicago makeup studio, and this was the number one thing that people wanted to learn was how to get foundation that looks like skin. And if this sounds like you, stick around. So I want to show you, I am on camera right now and I have no filter on, and this is my 56-year-old skin with foundation. So if you are looking for tips and tricks on how to get foundation that looks like real skin or that looks skin-like, this episode is for you. So today I have on, I have on the Chanel Water Tint Foundation. It's pretty dry in Austin, Texas today. It's really hot for March the 12th, which is crazy to me. And I just put a little mascara on, a little bit of the Chanel watercolor blush, and a little bit of lip gloss just for this podcast because I'm working out by the pool and that's just my life. But as you see, if you're watching me on video, you'll see that my skin looks skin-like. It looks like hydrated. I do have a ton of skin prep on. And if you don't know me, I'm Sonia Roselli and I have a skin prep line that is great before makeup, but it's also a really great skincare line as well. But yeah, so let's talk about it. Okay, so one of the first things that I can say is I'm going to try to speak to people over 40. And some of the things that we want to take into consideration are things like where you live, your skin type, and the seasons. Because one of the things that I even say with skincare is you want your skincare to always work with the seasons and your skin type. So what works for me and my dry, dehydrated, rosacea prone skin may not work for you at 56. If you have oily, very oily skin, or you live in a very humid climate. And one of the things that I want to talk about today too is not really how to shop like a consumer. It's to more of like how to shop like a pro. And what do I mean by that? I mean that since social media has been a thing, we have been told what to buy, but we haven't been taught how to shop. And that's what we're going to do here today. I'm going to teach you how to shop, not what to buy. Does that make sense? And I think that this is going to help you shop like a professional makeup artist and esthetician so that you can make smarter decisions about your skincare and your foundation. All right. So the first thing that we want to talk about is what happens to our skin as we age. You know, as we age, we start to produce less collagen, less elasticity in the skin texture changes, and foundation that we used to love in our 30s, it starts to fill in the fine lines and wrinkles. And sometimes the more we wear, the worse it looks, right? And then sometimes if we don't use enough, it doesn't cover all of the years of life well lived, whether it's sun damage or for somebody like me, rosacea. It just depends. So you're kind of stuck in this kind of a trick bag of like, do I use a lot more coverage or do I use less? How should I get down? So what I want you to think about is this. When you are aging, I want you to rethink your foundation game every 5 years. And what I mean by that is as we age, our skin changes. As the seasons change, our skin changes. And the foundation that worked for us in the summer might not actually work for us in the winter. So I want you to think about those types of things first before you start shopping. Now, for me, I have all kinds of different foundations, and it really just depends on what I'm doing for the day. So for like today, and I just wanted to even out my complexion, that's when I'll reach for this Chanel Water Tint Hydration Foundation and Blush, just because it looks skin-like and I can use it on my chest and neck. But if I'm going to be on camera doing serious camera work, I might reach for a cream foundation or something a little bit heavier in texture where it doesn't really matter if you see me up close because it's just going to blur out my skin even more and it's going to look good for on camera. And we're going to talk about this in this episode. All right, so one of the first things that I want to talk about when it comes to skin and foundation and trying to find a foundation that looks like skin after 40 is this. Our skin is a lot different in our 40s than it was in our 30s. Our skin is a lot different in our 50s as it was in our 40s, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that your skin changes every 5 years. Hell, let's be honest, it pretty much changes every day. And what you need today may not what you need tomorrow. So a lot of times I tell people to change their foundation. So let's just say you find a foundation that you absolutely love, right? But all of a sudden you start to notice that your skin looks a little bit dry, a little bit dull. Maybe it might be a time to either think about the season that you're in. Is it winter time? Is your skin more dry? Do you need more hydration, or is it summertime and maybe you're oily and you need a lot less, heavier coverage foundation? Those are the kinds of things that you need to keep in mind. Okay. So when you're thinking about foundations, think about changing your textures of your foundations every 5 years. And it's going to make a huge difference. Okay. So what I want you to also think about is skin prep. And if anybody knows me, they know that I am the skin prep queen. I started my entire line behind skin prep. And one of the things that is just really unique about our line is it's not only an efficacious skincare brand, it's also beautiful under makeup. And that was really what was important to me when I was creating this line of skincare, was that it had to be really good for sensitive aging skin, but it also had to play well under makeup. Because have you ever used skincare and then you put your makeup on top of it and then it starts to pill and move around? Well, that's because a lot of skincare is not designed to be worn under makeup, but ours is. And the key to really fantastic makeup is the hydrated skin. So the better the canvas is and the more hydrated the skin is, the better your foundation is going to look and look like real skin. Okay, so now let's talk about skin prep and why skin prep is so important for the skin. Number one, you want to exfoliate. So think about a painter when they paint their foundation or when they paint their canvas, they always gesso the canvas before they lay their first layer of pigment. And think of exfoliating your skin a lot like that. You wouldn't want to go put foundation or paint on a sidewalk, right? The sidewalk is kind of rough and kind of bumpy, but if you smooth that out and then you paint on top of it, then the better the pigment is going to look. And your skin is the exact same way. So we want to exfoliate the skin 2 to 3 times a week. Anything more might be a little bit overkill, especially if you have sensitive skin, but obviously your mileage may vary. If you're one of those lucky people who can exfoliate every day, great for you. But for most of us and for most skin, it's always better to only exfoliate 2 or 3 times a week. I think a lot of people are in this vicious cycle right now of over exfoliating, using too much on their face, and then their skin is like reactive, and then they're wondering, what's wrong with my face? So think about exfoliating your skin 2 to 3 times a week. So the reason that that's good is a couple of things. Number one, your moisturizers are going to penetrate more effectively, keeping your skin nice and supple and hydrated. And number two, when you do apply foundation, it's going to look beautiful. And one of the things that I've created for our line is the Sex Appeal Gommage Peeling Gel. It's a fragrance-free peeling gel. It works great for all skin types, even for those of us with rosacea-prone skin. However, you do not want to use it on open skin infections like acne, or you absolutely don't want to use it if you are in the middle of a rosacea flare, especially if you have acne rosacea. When you are in that kind of flare, you need to just stop all exfoliations and then maybe just give your skin a little bit of break. So that is what is so special about it. It is a gommage peeling gel, and it's just going to take off that very top layer of the stratum corneum, or what we call the horny layer. Yes, I'm 12. And it's just going to take off that very, very top layer. It's not going to go too deep. It's not designed to go deep, but it's just enough to smooth out the skin. And it's also just enough to kind of let those moisturizers penetrate the skin without irritating the skin. It's this beautiful product and technology we found in Korea. And this one's just super easy to use. So that's the Sex Appeal Gommage Peeling Gel, fragrance free. And it is great to use up to 3 times a week. So the next thing that you need before you put on any type of foundation is you're going to need a lot of hydration. It doesn't matter if you're oily, if you're dry, or anywhere in between. Hydration is the secret magic for beautiful foundation that looks like skin. So one of the first things that I like to use after I've exfoliated clean skin is I like to use our water elixir skin prep. And what this does is in Japan, they believe that essence waters are going to help prepare the skin for additional moisturizers that can penetrate the skin and go a little bit deeper and work better. And so water elixir gets the skin ready for that. The other great thing about water elixir is it's going to plump up all the fine lines and wrinkles, and the appearance of the pores are going to be softened. And then whenever you put on the rest of your skin prep, it's just going to absorb a lot better. And then it's just going to give your skin a lot more of a hydrated look, a little bit like what I have now. So the next thing that you want to use is you want to use a primer. Now, let me tell you about primer. Not all primer is created equal. And what I mean by that is traditional primers of what we have thought of as primers, I think are more like spackle for the skin. And that is okay if you have larger pores and you want to like take that and just apply it where you need it. But we've created a product called Water Balm Skin Prep. And Water Balm is a 5-in-1 skincare product and a moisturizer and a makeup primer all in one. So it's a serum, it's a toner, it's a day cream, it's a night cream, it's a makeup prep, all in one. And so it just makes the foundation look like butter when you put it on the skin. But the beautiful thing is it also has this beautiful soft focus filter in it so that your skin just looks, well, I mean, you look like you have wearing an Instagram filter in real life. But the other great thing is it really helps with the transepidermal water loss. And that is great when you're wearing any kind of foundation, because a lot of times foundation, I don't know if you've ever had this, especially if you have dry, sensitive skin, you'll know what I'm talking about. But have you ever had the time where you just feel like you put on foundation and then maybe a few hours later, it feels like the foundation has just sucked all the water out of your skin? That's because there's pigments in there that can get dried down and it just sucks all the water out of your skin. And so what Water Balm does is it kind of helps protect that and keeps your skin hydrated for hours. So your skin always looks glowing and beautiful. And honestly, it feels so good when you put it on. You just want to put it all over your face. So I apply it all over my face, all over my neck and chest, and just to make sure that everything is nice and smooth and even. Okay. The last thing that you want to do is, especially if it's during the day, you always want to wear your SPF. And one of my favorite SPF is this one from Japan. I actually get it on Amazon. Now, I know I told you, to shop like a pro, but this is the one that I really, really love for sensitive skin, rosacea prone skin. I love it for all skin tones, whether you have fair skin to the darkest skin. This is colorless. There's nothing there. It does not seem to tear up my very, very sensitive rosacea prone skin. However, with sunscreens, your mileage may vary. So just try it out before you swear by it like I do. But for me, so far, it works fantastic. It's a Nivea water cream gel. You can get it on Amazon. And if you're following me on Substack, I'm going to put all of these notes inside so that you can follow along. It's almost like a cheat sheet of sorts. And I'll put the link to that in the show notes. But it is this beautiful water cream gel that is clear. There's no fragrance. I mean, I wouldn't say there's no fragrance. There's a little bit of a fragrance, but it's not an added fragrance. I think this is just what the ingredients smell like. It doesn't seem like there's any added ingredients. And it just is just so fantastic. It's just so feather light. It doesn't feel like you're wearing anything. And if you're anything like me, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. Oh my gosh, I hate how sunscreen feels on the face. I absolutely hate it. And I know I'm an esthetician and I know I have to wear sunscreen every day, and I do, but not without protest. I think it's just my little neurospiciness that is just like, I can't stand it when it just feels like it's touching my skin. It's just, ugh. But this one feels great. This one is actually made in Japan, and the only place I can get it really is on Amazon. And if you're like me and you don't like shopping on Amazon, I get it. But that's the only place that I've found it so far that I actually feel like I can trust. But it is actually a fantastic product. And I'm actually going to be doing a whole breakdown on Japanese sunscreens that I actually like. But this one, by far, I feel like can be the best for all types of skin, whether you're light skin, dark skin, it doesn't matter. Whether you're sensitive or oily, it's all going to work well because it is that gel cream formula. It seems to work really well for a lot of skin tones, and people that have tested it for me, they said, oh my God, where has this been all my whole life? So try that one, but just be sure to check in the Substack for that link in the show notes. All right, so the next thing that we want to talk about is breaking down the formula for your foundations, okay? So I want to go through here and teach you the secrets that I would look at as a makeup artist and why the textures of foundation are important. Because everybody is always asking me, Sonia, what's the best foundation for? And one of the things that I can tell you is that there isn't just a best foundation for, it is a best foundation for a specific skin type, occasion, or time of year, right? And so this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on what to look for and what to look for on the bottle when you're shopping. All right, so let's talk about the foundation that you know the most probably, and that would be liquid foundation. Now, liquid foundation is great for everyday wear. It's great for any kind of professional setting, or it's even great for photos. The other thing it's really fantastic for, it's also great for dry, sensitive skin. And when you are shopping for a liquid foundation, you want to look for these keywords on the bottle. You want to look for hydration, dewy, radiant. Those types of keywords on the type of the bottle are really, really important. So look for those keywords when you're looking for it. Whenever you see a foundation that says long wear, 24 hours or 48 hours, I think is the one that I saw. I think I saw one the other day that said 72 hours. And I'm like, girl, why would you want to wear foundation for 72 hours? I'm like, oh, please. So if you find those might be a little bit too drying for, dry to sensitive skin. They're probably going to be better for oilier skin tones, because dry skin tones, it's just going to dry you out even more. Now, obviously you might want to check them and test them and see, but for the most part, in my experience, those long wearing foundations are very drying to dry, sensitive, dehydrated skin. So you might want to avoid those. Now, if you have oily to normal skin, you're going to want to go with lightweight, maybe an oil-free option or something that has a little bit of a mattifying effect. Now, I don't like to use foundations that are too drying on oily skin, because it also can dehydrate the skin even more, and then your oil protection can kind of like exceed a little bit more, and you don't really want that. So you want to look for foundations that are a little bit more lightweight. I would almost say like a satin finish to a matte finish, but your mileage may vary, especially after 40, because if you have oily skin, you probably don't have as many fine lines, or if you do, they're probably in just certain areas, and they may just want to use that foundation in those areas where you tend to be a little bit oilier, and then maybe use a different kind of foundation on your drier spots. Yes, girl, you can totally mix up the foundations and use different foundations on different areas of the face. There is no rule that says you can't do that, okay? So that is liquid foundation. That is how I would use it, and how I would use it from a day-to-day standpoint, and then maybe even special occasions, okay? So the next foundation that we're going to talk about are cream foundations. Now, creams are one of my personal favorites for dry, dehydrated, sensitive, rosacea-prone skin. Now, one of the ways that I use the cream foundation, I use cream foundation when I'm going to be on camera, where I'm doing professional video, maybe not like this because it doesn't really matter. I'm just using my computer. Or if I am going somewhere where I know that I need longer coverage or longer lasting foundation, cream foundations are a must-have for me. The other reason that I like a cream foundation is because it feels very lightweight to my skin, and it also can be sheared out with something like water elixir. I can shear that out very easily to get it to be skin-like, and it's very malleable, and you can use it on the skin. However, it's really best for dry, dehydrated, sensitive skin. It also is going to give you probably one of the most coverages than, say, a liquid foundation. So let's say you have a lot of foundation or a lot of redness in your skin or melasma in your skin that you need to cover. A cream foundation might be fantastic. However, a cream foundation is not really good for oily skin. And if you have oily skin, you can use it a little bit sparingly, but you're probably going to feel like it's too heavy because a lot of times cream foundations usually have an oil in them and it may feel too heavy on you. Okay. So that's what you look for in a cream foundation. Now let's talk about that one thing that I have gotten more people off of in my makeup studio after 40 to get that skin-like look, and that is powder foundation. So I think powder foundation and remember mineral foundations from back in the day? To me, that is the most interesting story of all. So if you're old enough to remember, and I know you all are, remember when Bare Minerals was such a hot shit thing and everybody loved it, and it was like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. The reality is it was just a marketing plan. It was just a marketing spiel. Like all foundations are minerals. I mean, if you think about what a mineral is, it's zinc and titanium, and it's just such a clever marketing. It was just pure genius, quite honestly. But after we age, our skin shows fine lines and wrinkles, and powders tend to not be our friends. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. There are what we call finely milled powders, and certain skin can wear those really beautifully. I think Laura Geller has some really beautiful, what we call baked foundations, and that usually means that they're very finely milled. They start off as a liquid and they're baked and turned into a powder, and they can tend to go on the skin very skin-like. But for somebody like me, not so much. It just dries out my skin even more, and it just makes my skin look even more dry and lifeless. And that's not really what I want. However, I do like a baked blush for my skin because it can look really beautiful, especially for photos when I'm not going to be in public and it's just going to be a photo of me. I use it sometimes for that. But those are the kinds of things that you kind of want to look for in terms of a powder foundation, are those baked powder foundations. I wouldn't go for anything powdery like a loose powder. A lot of times those aren't that great. I know the By Terry has a hyaluronic acid powder that is, it's okay. It's not bad, but even for me, I still have to just kiss it, not make out with it, right? We say kiss it, don't fuck it here at the studio. But powders are just generally not going to be your friend unless you're oily or unless you just have that really beautiful skin where you don't have fine lines after 40. You can try that. So, use your best judgment. The other brand that has really beautiful baked powders is Hourglass. They have some of the most beautiful powder foundations and blushes and bronzers and highlighters. So if you are over 40, over 50, 60, 70, and you do want to use powders and you just love them, check out the Hourglass line, see if those are anything that you might like. And then just look for anything where it says baked powders or finely milled or air-like. Those are the kinds of keywords that you're looking for when you're shopping for a powder foundation. So the next one is one of my personal favorite. It's probably a little bit, I wouldn't say it's new to the market, but it's probably one that we didn't have, 30 years ago. And that is a serum foundation. A serum foundation is basically a very thin foundation that gives you serum-like skincare benefits with a foundation. The other thing that I've noticed is you can also have almost like a serum tinted sunscreen. Those kind of fit into that tinted serum foundation as well. They're just very lightweight. They usually have some sort of skincare actives in it, and it just really tends to be very lightweight on the skin and just looks beautiful on the skin. Now, if you have oily skin, you're probably going to think that it's too dewy, but you can set it with a powder. But serum foundations are really hydrating. They're weightless on the skin. They tend to be better for dry, dehydrated, kind of rosacea prone skin, sensitive skin. But normal to combination skin, and to oily skin, it might just be too dewy for you. So you may want to set it with powder or a baked powder after 40 and see how that looks. So the next foundation is a stick foundation. And I could have put this in with the cream foundation because really a stick foundation is just basically a cream foundation, but it's just in a different delivery method. I tend to love stick foundations. Personally, they're easy to use. I like to travel with them because I can usually use the stick foundations, a stick blush, and I can just keep it moving and I can get out the door in like 5 minutes. So those are my favorite. And a stick foundation is really great for touch-ups. It's easy for application. It's a very creamy formula. It is it is a cream foundation. But I would not suggest it for oily skin. This is just not something that I would do. I would probably stick more with the liquid foundations or something like the powder foundations for oily skin. All right. Now, the other one that I've seen, I don't see a lot of them, but I have seen them on the market, and that is the tinted oil foundation. And some of those are hit or miss. But one of the great things about the tinted oil foundation is it's actually really great for skin that is dry and sensitive and dehydrated. But you got to have really good skin because there tends not to be a lot of coverage or pigment with that. So you might want to think about that more of something for your dry skin in the summertime when you just want like a very sheer wash of color. You just want to kind of put it on and just have all of your skin just look like butter, basically. But if you have oily skin, you're probably going to want to skip this one altogether. There's also a cushion foundation, and these are really popular in Asia, and I have seen quite a few here as well. These are great really for quick, fresh applications all over. It's very hydrating and light. It's great for dry, sensitive skin, but you might need a powder if you're using anything for oily skin like this, because cushion foundations are just I guess it's a hybrid of a cream foundation, but it's just a hybrid cream and maybe something like a BB or a CC cream. Okay. So if you have oily skin, you may want to skip this one. If you have dry skin, cushion foundations are one of my favorites. The other thing that I like about cushion foundations, if you find certain ones, they are great for covering up melasma or rosacea. And it's basically because it's a type of cream. It's just a little bit thinner in texture. And the way that you apply it is with that pressing motion of a powder puff type. And what you're basically doing is stippling on foundation, which gives you the most coverage with the least amount of product. So that's why the cushion foundations do give you coverage. It's just actually the application method in which you use. And finally, we have tinted sunscreens, tinted foundations, BB creams, and CC creams. And one of the great things about that is it really can be great for all skin types. You just need to look at the bottle to see what the description is. One of the things that I tell people all the time is that we spend so much time as product developers in writing the copy for the product. And what I mean by that is we're going to make sure we're very descriptive in what we're saying because we want it easy to people to make decisions on how to shop for certain things. So if we're like hydrating CC cream or hydrating BB cream or super hydrating tinted foundation sunscreen or tinted, there's all kinds of hybrids and things that are mixed up. So really read the label to see what it says and read who it really is good for, and it will tell you. The other great thing is to test the foundation on the back of your hand and really feel the texture of it. And how does it look on the back of your hand, especially for those of us after 50, 60, our hands are really starting to show the age. And if it looks good on the back of our hand, then it'll probably look really great on our face. Okay, so that's just really one way to look at it. So always read the labels and always make your decisions from there. So I hope that was helpful. Be sure to check out the cheat sheet in Substack, but let me give you my final thoughts. When it comes to foundation, always adjust your foundation with the seasons because what works for you in the summer might not work for you in the winter. Always, you want to prep your skin properly. Great skin prep is going to give you great foundation that looks skin-like every single time. I always tell people it's not your foundation, it's your skin prep. I can almost make any foundation work for anybody as long as I have really great skin prep. It's really the secret sauce of great skin and great foundation. Also, one of the last things, and we didn't really talk about it, but I feel like that's a whole podcast in itself. And I'm actually going to try to get my friend Kevin James Bennett and the Oscar-winning makeup artist Vivian Baker on here because I want to explain to you what goes into making a foundation and the pigments and kind of where we are in foundation right now. Everything, the colors are just so bad, you guys. I can't, like, that's a whole other podcast. But I always tell people, always match to your skin perfectly. Your skin foundation color should blend into your skin where it's invisible and you can't see it. And it's not you. I promise it's not you. It's not the problem that you face. It's the problem of cosmetic companies that are matching a lot of stuff by a spreadsheet and not using makeup artists anymore to create color. But I think my friend Kevin James Bennett can really speak on this because he does a lot of this in his, he's a cosmetic formulator as well, but he has way more experience than I do when it comes to foundation. I'm more of like the skincare formulation side, but he is fantastic about explaining pigments and everything. So I'm hoping I can get him on the podcast very soon. And also to test before you commit. I always tell people one of the best things that you can do is actually try to test your foundation if possible, or at least make sure they have a return policy and test the foundation before you commit to buying. So if you can go into Ulta or something like that where you can test the foundation, even better. But if not, just make sure that you can return it. And then just test on the side of your cheek, in the middle of your cheek, and on your forehead, and see if it matches in all the different places. And that way that you can be sure that it's a great color match. I also like to match to my neck and chest here to be sure if I can just use it. And don't be afraid to use more than one. Like I have been where I'll use one color on my face and one color on my neck and just kind of blend it all together to where I don't have any lines of demarcation. That is really going to be key. It's really important that your face and your neck match all the time. That's like a really big pro makeup secret. And sometimes even when I would do photos, I would look, I didn't even put any on my ears. And so you can tell that my ears, well, they're a little bit hot right now because it's hot in my room. But yeah. So always put a little bit of foundation on your ears, especially if you're going to be in photos, because you want those to match. The other great tip I will give you while we're here is if you are in photos, always put a little bit on the back of your hands too, just so that everything matches together. Just be careful not to get it on anything really special. Now, finally, we could talk about the tools, but again, that's another podcast for another day, and we'll save that for another one. But the best tool that I love are my little paws. I love my fingers to apply foundation, but I also love brushes. There's also a time for sponges. There's all kinds of ways to apply foundation, but one of my favorites to get the skin that looks like skin is just using my fingers, because the heat of your fingers basically melt that into the skin. And it's great, especially when you only have 5 minutes. But I do love a good brush and I do love a good sponge. It really kind of depends on the finish that I'm doing. So when it comes to foundation, especially those of us after 40, it's really about getting it to look the most skin-like as possible. Less is more, texture is everything, and skin prep is the secret to getting professional looks that you will love. So if you love this episode, give me a thumbs up. I would love to hear about it. Be sure to follow me on Substack, where you can follow this link to this podcast episode, where you can download the cheat sheet to go shopping. I'm going to give you all the keywords, everything to look for when you're shopping, depending on your skin type. I hope this translates, for a podcast. I'm also going to put this on YouTube with some different kinds of video and pictures and things like that to look for. I hope that that's helpful. So if you are looking for a great skincare line to use under foundation, and if you want the best skin prep line, check out our line, SoniaRoselli.com. I am so proud of this line, all made in Japan, all made to be hydrating, all made to be worn under makeup. It is fantastic. I hope you love it. So check it out at SoniaRoselli.com. Okay, everybody, I will see you next Friday on Beauty and F-Bombs. See you soon.